Hello everyone, I'm Windfalcon, and this is the center of the multiverse, where the good, the bad, and the just plain stupid of crossover fanfics are shown for your viewing pleasure. Crossovers are some of the most interesting fanfictions out there. Fusing two series for one story purpose has been popular even before fanfics hit the scene. After all, comics and TV series tend to do this quite a bit. Of course, that doesn't mean they always do it well. Which is why, while reviewing crossovers, we'll be taking a look at 5 key points that make good crossovers work. Setting, characterization, continuity, glue, and the MacGuffin. I'll explain these as the review goes on, but they're fairly straightforward. So, with the introduction out of the way, let's go right into Hajime no Keitaro by Cizzymac. The author's summary says the following. Love Hina Hajime no Ippo crossover. Keitaro, tired of feeling abused and unconfident, meets a group of professional boxers that may have a solution. But the road is hard and paved with pain. Can Keitaro reach his goals? Rated for language and violence.
This is actually one of the better summaries I've come across. It gives the basic idea of the story without revealing too much. Both from the title and the summary, we can already deduce that Keitaro is the main focus, and we can already guess parts of the story. It's a good hook, and definitely caught my eye. It's a 3-year-old story at 18 chapters and 96,000 plus words, and recently finished. While that sounds like a lot, the story really draws you in without feeling like it drags in the slightest. With a promising cover and an interest in more, in the words of the immortal Mills Lane, let's get it on! Point 1. The setting. Setting is the time and place a story happens. It's one of the most basic of basics in storytelling, but when it comes to crossovers, this becomes incredibly important, since it has to be believable for both stories to have the same setting in order to cross over. The setting of Hajime no Keitaro is modern-day Tokyo, which works well since that's the setting for both original series. That aside, the story starts off on the beach, the fusing point being the beach training in Ippo 6 months before the Vorg fight, and the beach cafe in Love Hina. It's a fusion point that makes sense, and the timing doesn't feel forced at all. Considering the two series, it's not a jump at all to believe that they could coexist in the same world. Point 2. Characterization. Characterization is essential in storytelling, both in how characters initially act and how they evolve. When it comes to crossovers, or fanfiction in general, a writer has to be conscious of the personalities of the characters they are using, and how the situations they are going through changes them. In this story, the characterization on all the characters are true to the original sources. The Love Hina girls aren't as bad as most fanfics make them when it comes to dealing with Keitaro. Keitaro's evolution from the wishy-washy Ronin wimp we all know and love into a proud boxer we can be proud of is gradual and believable, as is the interactions between Keitaro and the Kamigawa gym group. Ippo is humble yet inspirational as always, Takamura is a strong jerk as always, and everyone else is perfectly spot on. Along the way we get a better look into the relationship between Keitaro and the Hina girls. There's no sudden, jarring changes, or completely out-of-character moments in my eyes. And we even get to see the familiar face of Kentaro Sakata in the ring, that smug bastard. All in all, no complaints. Point 3. Continuity. Continuity is another powerful point in crossovers. It's basically how events flowed in canon. In crossovers, it's how events in both universes flow together, and how they affect the future of the characters within. In this, the Hajime no Ippo continuity is changed by the removal of Yamada Naoichi, to make room for Keitaro. Which makes sense, since having two trainees taught by Ippo would be difficult to do in terms of how the Kamigawa group would treat Keitaro, though it seems that the events involving Yamada were used as a base for Keitaro's experiences. It's at a point in Love Hina where Keitaro and the girls are running the beach cafe. At that point, the Journey West play was over, and there was still the awkwardness between Naru and Keitaro. But all in all, that can be glossed over in favor of the story. Amusingly, Seta, Haitane, and Shirai don't have any impact on the story at all, despite their strong presence in the canon in this story arc, nor do they make any appearances, which can be considered par for the course in this kind of story. Usually Seta's the shining example upon which Keitaro models himself, but in this story we have Ippo for that. The lack of Sarah, which is already a strong presence in the manga, threw me slightly, but that's because I'm a continuity Nazi, and damn proud of it too. Point 4. Glue. While not an actual literature term, Crossover stories require a glue or binding agent to bring the two worlds into one story. If it was two worlds like Fullmetal Alchemist and Naruto, we'd need a pretty strong glue in order for anybody to believe that these two worlds can coexist in one place. But if it's something like Hajime no Ippo and Love Hina, which basically happens in modern-day Japan with no major changes in the world, then we don't need much of a binding agent. The only glue needed is the plot and the meeting point. Nothing really needs to be said about this in the story itself, since the two worlds have that setting going for them already. Point 5. The MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is a plot element that catches the viewer's attention or drives the plot of a work of fiction. This can also be considered the glue that binds the two stories, just because the MacGuffin will be the thing that causes the two different groups of characters to interact with each other. For example, in Hajime no Keitaro, the MacGuffin is Keitaro's wish to improve himself. While not a tangible thing, this personal quest affects the Love Hina girls in a few ways. It causes Kitsune to become a major supporter, Motoko to feel threatened, and Naru fears the change going through her Keitaro and her own feelings. The Hajime no Ippo group were also affected by this MacGuffin, in the fact that this personal quest is what drives Keitaro to be a part of their group, and this also inspires them to actually help him out, and thus causes a large bond to form between them. As such, the two different groups start working together. With this MacGuffin, it actually quite works. All in all, it's a good story. It ended openly and left a few things unsaid, but at the same time it gives a good feeling when it finishes, one where it leaves the reader wanting more, yet satisfied that they read it. Cizzymac can make a sequel if they wish, without it feeling forced, and there's plenty more material they can use because of it. Overall, if you're a fan of either series, or simply looking for a good crossover, then this story has my highest recommendation. There should be a link right on the right side of your screen right there. Anyway, this has been Windfalcon reporting from the center of the multiverse. If you guys have a good, bad, or stupid crossover, just leave a comment and a link. Alright? See ya!